portholes we've uncovered, which is really crazy, is that the government can give money to a so-called nonprofit with very few controls, and then there's no auditing subsequently of that nonprofit. So there's no. So this is where, with the 1.9 billion to Stacey Abrams, they then give themselves extremely lavish, like insane salaries, expense everything to the nonprofit. Buy jets and homes and all sorts of things.
Live like kings and queens.
Yes.
On the taxpayer dime.
Correct.
You mentioned...
And this is happening at scale. It's not just one or two. We're seeing this everywhere.
Now, one of the things you told me about is what you call magic money computers at the Treasury. So tell us about it, because I never heard of that until you brought that up.
Okay, so you may think that that the government computers all talk to each other. They synchronize. They add up what funds are going somewhere, and it's it's coherent. There's and that the numbers, for example, that you're presented as a senator, are actually the real numbers.
One would think.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shalom, Israel. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rachak Kodash, the ones to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, salutations, and blessings to the elect, pushing the word across the four corners of the earth. And this is Esau going for their final campaign. All right, so now you have the guy who has the government contracts. They shoot the rockets up. The rockets come back down, right, which I believe is an attempt for them to, like the scriptures say, though they go up into the heavens, woe to them that seek to go on high, to hide from destruction, basically. All right. He's the guy who is progressing that technology, as well as we know. As well as we know the BrainLink technology. All right, that technology that can hook your brain up to the computer. They can read your brain waves, and then they can do all kind of other shit that they haven't put us on game about, that's currently in human experimentation trials right now. Right? Could be in America, could be in another location, another country somewhere, knowing how these Edomites are. We'll see how it plays out. But now this guy is talking about the government is basically run by a few computers which just print out magical money. Right? Backing up what we've been saying for years, which is ultimately what the scriptures say. Right? Because that's ultimately what's going to be true at the end of the day. Certain things we theorize, certain things, like the scriptures say, Wisdom of Solomon 8:8, if a man desire much experience, she knows things of old, talking about wisdom, and conjectures aright what is to come. She knows the subtleties of speeches and can expound dark sentences. She foresees signs and wonders in the events of seasons and times. And what is conjecture? An opinion or conclusion formed on the basis of incomplete information. Form an opinion or supposition about something on the basis of incomplete information. And you have to be careful, because Esau's tricky. They'll send you left, and then the whole plan was to send you right all along. So ultimately, man, we let the scriptures speak, because this is silver purified 7 times in the furnace. The word is true. We say, let the word of the Lord be true and every man a liar. So stick with the word, stick with prophecy, and you'll always be right. All right, but back to Elon, because this is another step forward towards that mark, that C-hip. All right, and when you go what's in that charagma, that charax, which is a thing inserted. It says grapho, to write with reference to the form of, it's something that's written. It's some kind of programming that's written in there. Yeah, everything these days is computerized, and they want to be able to do that with the minds of men as well. Right? They want to be able to hook people up. And that's why I say those who received it, they're going to have that a sore, you know, from all that radiation, that energy. And if you don't have this, you won't be able to buy or to sell. So it has to be hooked up to some type of central network which regulates buying or selling, which he's given the understanding on. Look, these are computers that issue out money. This is the way everything works. He's the explanation guy. This is the smart guy. Wow, the tech innovator. You know. So man, it's James 5:1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. And I'm gonna let the video play a little more, but basically they're about to give away the secret that they just print out money. There's no formula. There's no, okay, we're gonna burn this amount and then we're gonna keep this amount and then the money's gonna be worth this much amount. And no, this is a false balance. It's worth whatever the fuck we say it is based on whatever algorithm, long ass equation. That's what it's worth. Let Elon talk a little bit more. Magic money, magic. Why is magic even being put in there? This should all be, you know, regulated by math and science and, you know, the production of oil and you know, the GDP of the current, you know, it should be an equation. Everything is based on the illusions of Esau, the money magic.
One more thing.
All right, fraudulence.
They're
yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and Esau is being exposed, man. In the last years with the internet, people are finding out they're not as smart as they think they are, as they've said they are. They don't have as much information as they say they do. And there are a lot of people. They did a poll. They said the happiest countries were those Nordic countries, Finland, Denmark, and all over there. They said the U.S. is the most unhappy it's ever been, basically ever. Right? The people are mourning.
I mean, they're not totally wrong, but they're probably off by 5% or 10% in some cases. So I call a magic money computer any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
So how does that?
Which they've been doing for years. For you Jakes who, man, I'm the Jake. Think they just jumped on the credit wave. Jim Crow is basically just over. You just not getting on the wave, and these Edomites have been on this wave for years of fraudulence.
It just issues payments.
That's why we say we flee in Babylon. The riches are deceitful.
And you said there's something like 11 of these computers at Treasury that are sending out trillions in payments?
They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, some there's one or two at State, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers.
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing.
You have an ability to see where leverage points are and how things actually happen. So I remember back, I think it was September, October of this year, before the election, we didn't know who was going to win. And I was at your house in Austin. We were talking about it. And you said, you said, look, I don't want a job in Washington. And you said, all I want is the login for every computer. And I remember thinking at the time that sounded kind of weird. Like I just didn't get it. And I have to say what's interesting on this, if I would have thought like, okay, how do you reform government? Like sort of the traditional way to think about it is, okay, give me an org chart. Let me sit down with the people who are running agencies. And what you saw immediately is to understand what's really going on, get to the payment systems, get to the computers.
Yeah.
Why is getting to the computers so critical to understanding what's actually happening?
Well, the government is run by computers. So you've got essentially several hundred computers that effectively run the government. And if you want to know,
Did you know that, Ben?
A couple hundred computers run the government. Not accountants, not people who like he said, I'm gonna just let him say it. A couple hundred computers run the entire United States government. The whore that sitteth on many waters. All right, the nation basically that has global control. All right, them in Israel is run by computers.
No.
yeah. So when somebody, like even when the president issues an executive order, that's going to go through a whole bunch of people until ultimately it is implemented at a computer somewhere. And if you want to know what the situation is with the accounting and you're trying to reconcile accounting and get rid of waste and fraud, you must be able to analyze the computer databases. Otherwise, you can't figure it out. Because all you're doing is asking a human who will then ask another human, and finally usually ask some contractor who will ask another contractor to do a query on the computer.
Wow.
That's how it actually works. So it's many layers deep.
This is crazy. Back to the scriptures. James 5:3. Your gold and silver is cankered. Meaning what? Because they don't. They said it was gold in Fort Knox, but I didn't see a recording. I didn't see a recording, and if there was, then I'm still skeptical, because they could just put a like a chain. It could be gold plated or something. All right, but let the scriptures speak. Gold and silver is cankered. Your money is running out of value. The rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as if it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. So this is it for them. They're gonna a lot of these Edomites, they're gonna die rich on this side. All right, but the value of this place, man, is about to completely go down. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, all right, the Lord of the armies, which that heavenly host is about to return very shortly. All right, World War III is in the makes. Ezekiel 38 is brewing up. All right, we're already in the first couple verses on that chapter. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and hath long patience for it until he receive the early and latter rain. And truly, just like a husbandman, they have to wait for that rain for their crops to flourish. All right, we're waiting. We're patient.
So the only way to reconcile the databases and get rid of waste and fraud is to actually look at the computers and see what's going on.
So
That's what I call. That's what when I sort of cryptically refer to reprogramming the matrix. You have to understand what's going on at the computers. You have to reconcile the computer databases in order to identify the waste and fraud.
I don't know that there was anyone in Congress who understood, certainly myself included, who understood the leverage that comes from the computer and the data in particular.
Yeah, real quick, another scripture. Deuteronomy 24:14. I'm going to start at verse 12. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment and bless thee. And it shall be righteousness unto thee before the Lord thy power. All right, you're supposed to pay a man what you owe, basically. All right, basically, if they give you a security for something, if they're lending you, matter of fact, let's start up. Verse 24:10, when thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. In this land, first off, they manipulate the currency prices. They got inflation soaring. Right, they manipulate the housing costs. They manipulate Esau has control of everything. Everything, the price for everything has been manipulated. All right, but the people who do the hiring, who are also linked in with the people who set the prices for everything. And yes, it's a coordinated effort. Yes, the bankers do that. They can seize your assets. All right, you owe a certain amount. They can charge that to your house. They can take your house away if you owe a certain amount of money. All right, they can make you forfeit your wages just to pay them back. And here it is, they're doing all that. They can take your car. They're doing all that, and they're just printing out money from a couple of computers. Like, come on, man. Like, if you don't see this man as the devil, verse 11, thou shalt stand abroad, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment and bless thee. And it shall be righteousness unto thee before the Lord thy power. What does it say? If thy neighbor sue thee and give him your coat? Yeah, a lot of times those because we wore pure fabric garments, so those garments would be worth a lot of money. Just like now you got those wool coats and big fur coats and all that. So that could be his pledge. Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. All right, so you're gonna pay whoever it is. At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee. And that's what we're doing, man. We're crying out against this man. I got all this shit going on. Why the fuck do I gotta wait 2 weeks? And if I get a new job, I gotta wait 4 weeks. And if I need them to advance me something, I'm gonna have to, man, let you be foolish enough to go to one of these payday loan places. Let me go to the NLT. It basically said the same thing. If you lend anything to your neighbor, do not enter into his house to pick up the item he is giving as security. You must wait outside while he goes in and brings it to you. If your neighbor is poor and gives you his cloak as security loan, do not keep the cloak overnight. Return the cloak to its owner by sunset so he can stay warm through the night and bless you, and the Lord your power will count you as righteousness. Yeah, these people are truly terrible with their system or how everything is set up for you to fail, to crash. And if you're not diligent, you will. And that's why you have to know the scriptures. You have to understand the fraud. You have to understand how, the scriptures teach you everything, how you should really, the spirit you should be in when you do lend somebody something. And the scriptures tell you, don't, be careful who you do good to, Certain people, they got a bad name. They might necessarily have any intentions to pay you back. All right, but Esau's credit system and Esau's payment systems, they're all wicked. And what they're doing is they're trying to starve people out and then use this this new system to force people into it to buy and sell. But ultimately, the elect is not going to go for it.
That Congress would think about, give me a report on what your expenditures are, rather than actually getting into the pipes. And I think that has been fascinating, that it's let you uncover a bunch of crap that just nobody knew.
Yes. I mean, in order for money to go to a bank account, it's not like we're sending truckloads of cash all over the place. We're wiring money.
Right.
We're sending money through the ACH system or through the SWIFT system. So in order for money to flow, it's going to flow electronically. So that's what you need to look at. You need to look at the actual electronic money flows.
And Tesla and all your companies, you have accounting and you have every expenditure, you have it coded for what it's going for. Federal government doesn't work that way. They don't code what the money's going for.
They do now.
But they didn't.
They didn't.
And like one of the things that you told me, you said if any company kept its books the way the federal government does, they'd arrest the officers and put them in jail.
Yes. If it was a public company, it would be delisted immediately. It would fail its audit, and the officers of the company would be imprisoned. That's the level of malfeasance in the federal government, unfortunately.
He said what? He said all the officers will be in prison.
If it was a public
Yeah, as the ruler is, so is officers.
company, it would be delisted immediately. It would fail its audit, and the
Said if any company kept its books the way the federal government does, they'd arrest the officers and put them in jail.
yes. If it was a public company, it would be delisted immediately. It would fail its audit, and the officers of the company would be imprisoned. That's the level of malfeasance in the federal government, unfortunately.
It's stunning.
Deliberately, or do you think this is incompetence again?
It's 80%. It's 80% incompetence and 20% malice.
So if
In my
you
opinion.
look at Doge now,
Nah, nigga.
you look at the government
It's 100% incompetence and 100% malice.
and what you're finding,
But for the record, he's only saying this for him to have the solution. Once again, going back to prophecy, for all people to have one system of payment. All right. I mean, I'm gonna finish off with Revelation 13. That's why this is all coming out. This is not
percentage
for the
have
good of humanity.
you guys even gotten to, and how much of it is Mars where you haven't even gotten there yet because there's so much you're finding out here? I mean, how many, you seem like a timeline guy when you say, all right, I want to get in there and get all these, numbers and things. How far are we from the end game where you've seen it all, been able to process it all and fix it? I mean, are we years away, months away?
Not years. I mean, I'm reasonably confident that we'll be able to get $1 trillion of waste and fraud out, and that meaning that we'll have a net savings in FY26, which starts in October, obviously, of $1 trillion.
Wow.
Provided we're allowed to continue and our progress is not impeded, and we're
Yeah.
very public
Which is gonna include them implementing a system.
about what we do.
Yeah, you put it on the
In fact,
website.
It's on the website.
I don't know how we could be more transparent. Literally every action we do, small or large, we put on the Doge.gov website, and we post on the X handle. And when people complain about it, and they say, "Oh, you're doing something unconstitutional," I'm like, "Well, which of these cost
You're doing it in the
savings?"
daylight. I mean, everyone knows exactly what you're doing.
Extreme transparency.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything's been this transparent ever.
So 5 years ago, you were a hero to the left. You were cool. You had electric cars. You had space. And in 5 years, you've gone.
I could go to a party in Hollywood and not get dirty looks.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah.
And
Now you might not even get invited.
I think it's
Still get invited, but I don't know if I should go.
and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say today, after Donald Trump,
Yeah, of course he's gonna get invited. Of course he'll get invited. This is Revelation 13. And 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. That's 666, which is a number for Esau that you also keep seeing over and over. All right, but the point is made. You know, this is part of their final plan to save America, save the government, save everything. If we could just have him overhaul everything, and the left is evil and the right is good, and man, look, this man is a madman, whether it be right, whether it be left. We're waiting on the heavenly hosts. All right, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahawashi. Our Redeemer lives, and very shortly is his coming, man, and we do these lessons to feed the sheep and to edify, to build up the spiritual temple of Israel, which can never be destroyed. Shalom to the elect.